Thank you, Laurence, for all those years of investing in coming to Israel and bringing to us best, we know the radiologists.
Thank you.
In all subspecialty, really, thanks for.
Thank you very much. So let's go for the. Thank you. Merci. So let's talk about sports and spine sports. So as Jonathan just showed you, from the gesture in sports comes the pathology, and it is a funny part of our job. As you can see, we are very close to athletes, elite sport people and dancers and stuff like that. And we got to know their sports by the gesture and by the pathology. So we'll talk about posterior arches, facet joints, spinous processes, discs, and we won't talk about the muscles and sacroiliac joints. So let's go for it. Oops. So, oops, on va y arriver. Okay, when you take care of these athletes, you see young people more and more, because they start at high level. They start very early, and they have long hours and long days of training. So we see low back pain in very young people now. Not this young anyway, but okay. So this is a case of a high jumper, and he comes to us with a low back pain, left side, for a month. Question is, which kind of imaging should we perform first? Should we still perform X-rays, CT, MRI, EOS? As you know, EOS is this low radiation X-rays, and or SPECT CT. What would you say? First thing, we're talking about pro athletes here. So MR, of course, huh? Okay. We shouldn't irradiate them because it won't give us the diagnosis most of the time, or not early enough anyway. So this is what we are performing. When you talk about spine imaging in MR, we're doing spinico T1, sagittal spinico T1, and then we only go with T2 fat sat. So this is what we're doing here, sagittal T2 fat sat. As Mary just told you before, when you go with non-fat sat T2 in sagittal imaging, it's very difficult to interpret the signals afterwards. So what do you see? You see something? Okay, so let's go for. So you see this bone edema on the posterior arch, left side, just as he suffers from the left side, so it's quite good. And we also perform all the time any of the spine process MR that you're performing at our institution. We always perform this sequence that we call the De Sèze magnetic, because it comes from the X-rays that we are performing. So it's a coronal T2, and we can see also the sacroiliac joints and even the coxofemoral joints. So it's really cool. And here you can see that on the left side you see again the bone edema. So if you missed it on sagittal, you won't miss it on coronal. Okay. So let's talk a bit about the technique. As you know, when you perform the sagittal slices at MR, many times you may miss a part of a posterior arch, one side or the other. So when we perform MR for low back pain in young people, we always ask our technicians to give us more slices laterally. So we ask them to have a larger field of exploration laterally, not to miss any part of the posterior arch. So it's very important, especially for young people. So what else? What is the next exam you would perform now? Because we know that there is a bone edema, but we don't know the diagnosis yet. So what should we perform? It's not precise enough, you know. After what I just saw, I bring my patient to another place directly without even asking the guy, the doctor who sent me the patient, because I want the patient out of the clinic with the precise diagnosis. okay? So I will bring him to somewhere else. So where should I bring him? It's okay, city, good. So why? Because what we should look for in low back pain in young people is this diagnosis. So you see it? It's a stress fracture. It's a post-articularis stress fracture. And when we are lucky enough, we see it when it's still partial spondylolysis and not complete. Because when it's partial spondylolysis, we can still prevent it from being completed, okay? So as you know, it occurs most of the time on dysplastic pars with this kind of lumbosacral dysmorphy, okay? So treatment is to immobilization by cast. Usually it's like 2 or 3 months, so it can be a long time, especially when you take care of people like involved in pro sports. It's not nice for them, but at least you prevent them from completing the fracture, and it's really helpful. Otherwise, if you don't, it's 60% cases it's completed and it's over. You cannot cure it anymore, heal it anymore. So it's very important to make the diagnosis much the earliest possible. So the reason why X-rays were useless, because on X-rays you wouldn't see it, okay? And I wouldn't even practice CT scan as a first technique, because at CT scan it's difficult to know if it's acute lesion or already an old lesion, okay? Only MR gives you the bone edema, and the bone edema is the sign that it's acute, okay? So healing is followed by CT scan, as you can see here. 3 months later, it's healed, so it's really cool. And why not using an MR as the follow-up technique? You know that? Because at MR, the bone edema would remain weeks, more weeks after healing. As usual, the bone edema at MR is always remaining much longer than the patient doesn't feel the pain, and you still have the edema. So it's not good to use a MR for that. So another case, a gymnastic, right low back pain for a month. Okay, she comes with this picture. So here you have spondylolysis and it's completed. And you can see that it's an old one because you can see that the margins of the fracture are dense. So it's still, you know, it's an old lesion. So what do we see at the MR? We see bone edema. So bone edema is the reason for the pain here. Another reason for the pain in such spondylolysis is fluid inside the fracture, and fluid communicates with the facet joints above. Okay, and this is the second reason for the pain in old lesions. Okay. So what can we do for them? We can perform steroid infiltration. And it's very easy here because you can use the communication between the spondylolysis and the facet joint. So you introduce your needle here and it goes into it. By the way, years earlier, it was a way to make the diagnosis before we're using CT and MR so easily. And we know that these facet joints most of the time they present osteoarthritis. So you cure both osteoarthritis above and the fluid inside the spondylolysis at the same time. So this is another case with spondylolysis. It's multiple location here. And the football player, he feels cruralgia on the right side. So this is very usual to have this kind of disc herniation, which is a foraminal disc herniation in this case. So it's very easy also to perform infiltration, and it will be foraminal infiltration in this case. So another case here, low back pain for a month. Pro athlete in tennis is €70. It's a little bit different. Can you see it? Much more common. Much less common, I'm sorry. Much less common. It's not one side or the other here. It's just. So what you see here is a spinous process apophysitis. You see bone edema, irregular margins, and when spondylolysis was due to hyperextension, here this apophysitis, they are due to hyperflexion. You know, in tennis, when you are serving, they are like very violent hyperflexion, and this is the reason for this enthesopathy here. So this is it on the CT. And this is a case that Daniela gave me some months earlier, and Natalia. So this is also a tennis player. He has this low back pain for a month. And you see multiple things here, multiple location. You have spondylolysis in multiple location. You also have this apophysitis. It's worse than the case I just presented to you, because you don't only have irregularities, you have a fracture here, avulsion fracture. In this enthesopathy, it's a traction enthesopathy. So this is the results 6 months later, and again they used CT scan to make the follow-up. So this is a paper from radiographics where they use this SPECT-CT. In my team, we don't use it so much because MR is non-invasive, no radiation, so we feel that it's better to use CT and MR and not using SPECT-CT, but some teams obviously use that successfully for diagnosis, both diagnosis and follow-up. So this is an international swimmer. I had such a case during the Olympics in London, and we have some other swimmers having this low back pain for months, and what we see is fluid, osteoarthritis, with bone edema and fluid inside the joints. So what we can propose again is infiltration, and what we're doing is not only infiltration, it's wash out. And I'm using some some physio and some anesthetics. I push the fluid inside the joint, and by a special turning gesture, I can remove some fluid, and it's very, very, very interesting to release the pressure. So this is an older guy. As you know, we have some guys like that, like 80-year or even older people going to play tennis many times a week. And if you prevent them from going on playing tennis, it's terrible for them. It's their lives. So should we leave this guy? Should we tell him, yes, you can go on with tennis or not? What do you think about that? So he has a terrible, terrible acute phase of osteoarthritis. So of course, we proposed to him infiltration, and I told him, you can go back to tennis after a few days, but you have to do like that. You have to do like Michael Chang. You stop with serving using your usual service. You can use you can play, but just underhand service. And these guys, if you tell them stop serving the way you used to do and just play, they can go on playing tennis. So this is a professional tennis player, and he had this thoracolumbar junction pain, terrible. Every game he had to perform an infiltration, otherwise he couldn't go on with the tournament. And I saw him after he won a tournament. He could hardly walk, but he had the trophy. And what did he have? He had this facet joint osteoarthritis in acute phase. It's very specific because, you know, it's so big here. You know, he has facet hypertrophy, bone edema, very, very high signal in T2. So despite the infiltrations they performed for him every day during the tournament, he wasn't released. So back home, they tried the PRP injection, and as it wasn't helpful enough, they even gave him a stem cell injection. So because I saw his doctor years later and told me that. So as you know, PRP injection, we are using it for osteoarthritis in acute phase. I'm doing it. I even did it last week for myself on my knee. But stem cells, I don't know. I don't think that it's already. I was in a conference lately, and obviously it's not so. We are not sure it will be helpful yet, so we cannot use it. But they did for him. So let's go back to some other patients. So now let's go with discs. Oops. So again, a pro tennis player, was a French, one of our best French tennis player. He had this thoracolumbar junction pain over and over again for months, and he had to stop many of his tournaments because of that. So I proposed to him infiltration, and he didn't want. Well, at the end, after many months, he agreed, and we performed this infiltration inside the foramen for him. So it's very specific of tennis and even golf. And 2 weeks ago, I saw also a dancer, a professional dancer, and he had, because of this movement of twisting the body, herniation, foraminal herniation in the thoracolumbar junction. So this is a friend of mine. She's very active in yoga, but she made it very late in her life. And she had a new coach, and the new coach was a little bit violent on her, asking her some movements she shouldn't have tried. So she came, she couldn't walk. She had the surgery the day after. It's a terrible disc herniation, as you can see. So it's extruded, and it's even intradural disc herniation. Okay? And it happens on a very unstable disc, because you can see here what we call a McNabb osteophytes, So it's traction enthesophytes, which are special because they are horizontal and they are above the corner of the vertebral body, you see? And it's very interesting sign. When you see this kind of enthesophytes, you know that the disc is unstable. It's a very good sign. Okay, it's not common osteophytes. And also another sign that is helpful, telling us the instability, is this bone edema, which is dome-shaped, like that. It's very, very specific of unstable disc. Okay. Another athlete that we had years ago, it's one of our best printer, and he had a very, very acute lumbosciatic pain after training. So this is a very uncommon disc herniation. We see them in sports and also in hard physical workers. It's a posterior ligament cyst, and when they got into surgery, they could see it was myxoid and hematic components, like an hematoma. So in this series, they went to surgery, so we know what it was. In our case, I performed an epidural injection for him, and it was really helpful. So like a week ago, he was back to the field. So that's about it. So in summary, athlopathy, it's like from sport-specific gesture to pathology. We could see it, depending on the sport, it's not the same pathology. In young people, low back pain, you have to look for spondylolysis until you prove it's not that. And in order to get the diagnosis as early as possible, you have to go to MR and not lose time with pseudo-normal radiographics. That's not helpful at all. Partial spondylolysis can heal. It's the reason why you have to get the diagnosis as early as possible. You can propose facet joint infiltration in spondylolysis in later stages, when it's like with bone edema and effusion. Facet joint infiltration with washout are very helpful, because they are released from the pain very fast. Traumatic discoloration exists in some violent sports, and in tennis, golf, and dance, you can see thoracolumbar discoloration of fascial arthritis more than in other sports. So, thank you very much. So now we are going to move on to the cases. Cédric? C'est bon? Ah, c'est super.